What's up, guys? I'm BTC. There have been some changes on the PTR regarding in-air movement, so that means characters like PHARAH, Winston, Junkrat, and even someone like Doomfist are getting an effective buff to their movement. Alright guys, so while this change is going to affect technically every single character in the game, only a couple are really going to have any significant benefit from it, and that's because they are able to get very high up in the air, and that's when the extra movement controls are going to come into play. Now, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because anytime new stuff like this happens, I'll be sure to let you guys know. So subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any of the latest and greatest info. So over on the official Overwatch forums, Jeff Kaplan made a post explaining how some of these movement changes are going to happen. So he said, "We're making a change on our PTR servers shortly that reworks some of how our heroes move and accelerate. This was originally done to fix bugs on a couple heroes, but the changes are systemic and affect all heroes. Specifically, movement on the ground is much more consistent. Going up and down inclines will no longer affect the hero's speed. Previously, inclines could either make you move slightly faster or slightly slower, depending on the circumstances. Inclines will no longer cause a small amount of strafing movement when moving diagonally on them. A side effect of these changes is characters will now have a slightly better air control. For example, Winston previously was not able to easily make small adjustments to his flight path during his jump pack leap, but now he should be able to do that, and it is also noticeable on many other heroes that are often in the air. We think these changes will overall be great improvements, but there might be some unintended side effects that we'd love for your help finding on the PTR. I went ahead and tested these changes on all the characters that I thought would have a significant impact from these changes. So the first one is going to be Winston. So I'm going to stand right next to this car here. I'm going to look up at the top of the building. I'm going to leap, and as soon as I leap, I'm going to hold right strafe. And you're going to see where I land. Then we're going to compare it to how it happens on the PTR. So now let me show you what happens on the PTR. So I'm going to get in the same spot. We're going to line it up with the top right there. As soon as I jump, I'm going to hold right. Look at that. I'm up on the balcony. So on the live version of the server, I was all the way over here. So there is just a ridiculous amount of control that you now have in the air.
Hello there.
The next one is going to be Junkrat. So this is again on the live version of the game. Now this is a little bit more difficult to show because when you first get boosted up into the air, you get some extra direction and momentum. So trying to control that is going to be a little bit more awkward than something like a Winston or a PHARAH. Now we're going to take a look at Junkrat, and again, this is a little bit more difficult because when you get hit up into the air, you have some sort of momentum and direction already, so controlling that is a little bit different from just, you know, straight up controlling Winston when he leaps. But it is still definitely noticeable. So this one is going to be PHARAH. I'm going to go in the same spot that I was for Winston. I'm going to boost into the air and then simply hold right and see where I land. So now we're going to check out PHARAH. We're going to get in the same spot. Look at about the same spot. As soon as I go in the air, I'm going to hold right. And again, look at that. I'm up on the balcony. So, like, you just have so much more control up here now. It feels like you're moving a lot faster. Here's Doomfist on the live version of the server, so I'm going to uppercut and then hold right and see where we land. And the last one is going to be Doomfist, so we're going to line up. Same thing. And he gets put in about the same spot, but you'll notice I'm actually hitting the wall. Like, I'm hitting the signs and stuff up here because the character is kind of curving more to the side than I was on the live version of the game. But it's pretty much about the same spot. The next one is, how does this affect Lucio? Now, I'm not particularly good with Lucio, so my wall riding skills are definitely not all the greatest. But from what I can tell, it seems to make taking corners a little bit easier than what it is on the live version. Like, you still stick to the walls perfectly fine. It just feels like taking the corners is a little bit easier than it might be on the live. Someone who is a lot more experienced with Lucio is probably going to have to give a better idea of just how much this is going to impact. But from what I can tell, at least, it makes it a little bit easier to kind of try to take the corners. And the last thing I wanted to check was Moira. Does the Fade Boost still work? And the answer is yes, it definitely does. You can still use it to get up on high ground, which is awesome. This is by far the best trick in the game, so I'm really glad they didn't get rid of it. Now, it still means that they might at some point, but hopefully they don't. Now, for most players, they're probably not going to notice these changes all that much, but for the higher skilled players, I think this is definitely going to be a pretty significant improvement. Even though it doesn't really seem like it, it's going to give you significantly better control of your character when you're up in the air. And that means that if you're playing a PHARAH, you're going to be a lot harder to hit. Winston is able to land on exactly the targets that he wants to land on. So there's a lot of benefit to these changes, even though they seem kind of minor. What do you guys think about all this stuff? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all that stuff. The links are down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.